What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another West New York Wednesday here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from Three Heads Brewing, and they're out of Rochester, New York, and this is their DiBella's chocolate chip cookie stout. So they're calling this one a stout brewed with DiBella's chocolate chip cookies, lactose, and natural flavors. It comes in at 5.2% alcohol by volume, 19 IBUs at the time of review. This can is just under 5 weeks old. So this is a collaboration between Three Heads and DiBella's old-fashioned Submarines. That is a chain of sub shops here in the West New York area. I think they're throughout New York State, and you can also find them in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Connecticut. Now, if you've never had a DiBella's sub, you can kind of get them to some degree if you go to a Wegmans grocery store. They kind of mimic DiBella Subs to some degree, which I always thought it was like Wegmans just basically had like a partnership with DiBella's. Turns out that's not the case, but their subs are very similar. At least I find them to be. So anyway, the other thing DiBella's is known for is their chocolate chip cookies. So that is where this collaboration is, the focus on. So anyway, I am pretty excited about this one. The two things that worry me is the low ABV, 5.2%, and the fact they're using natural flavors. I like that they're actually brewing with the chocolate chip cookies, but natural flavors. So anyway, this is basically a milk stout. So hopefully this is delicious. It's been in my colder beer fridge. So we should be having, or not colder, my darker beer fridge, which means this should be appropriate temperature. Let's give it a pour. Now, I find it unacceptable that I have not reviewed anything from Three Heads on the channel, period. They were one of the early Western New York breweries that kind of helped me navigate the a little bit cheap, the muddy craft beer waters back when I started drinking craft beer in the late 2009, early 2010 kind of range. I really enjoy the kind, which is like their American IPA, fantastic beer. I need to review that if I can find it fresh, but I just need to drink more from them because they can brew some good beer. Anyway, yeah, that looks like a milk stout. It's pitch black, has about just over a 2-finger straight on brown colored head, maybe a mocha colored head, whatever you want to call it. Some bigger bubbles mixing in with smaller bubbles, so it has like a soap sudsy effect to it. But yeah, it looks like a 5.2% chocolate chip cookie stout. Let's get nose. Nice. So that definitely has, to me, straight on cookie dough kind of aroma. Yeah, it's just a cookie dough. That's pretty fantastic. So picture yourself, either you made up fresh cookie dough, or maybe you bought the pre-made cookie dough that's already cut up into little squares and whatnot. You just put them on the tray. Regardless of what kind of cookie dough, that's what this smells like. It smells like cookie dough. There's nice chocolate aroma underneath the cookie dough. The cookie dough is a chocolate chip cookie dough, but there's also other chocolate, like a little bit of like a baker's chocolate, bittering chocolate. But then there's a sweet milk chocolate, a little bit of like a caramel and toffee. I feel like there's something on my hat here. It's bothering me. A lot of times with lower ABV milk stouts, I get a metallic vibe. Not getting it here, which is nice. There's definitely a big kind of a vanilla kick as well. Yeah, so chocolate, vanilla, a little bit of a roasted malt quality. Yeah, but it's cookie dough. It definitely has a cookie kind of vibe to it, which is nice because a lot of times you drink a pastry beer like this and it doesn't, whatever that says on the label or in the title of the beer, the name of the beer, a lot of times it doesn't carry over. Yeah, I can see chocolate chip cookie milk stout for sure. It's not very complex. It just smells a little bit on the sweeter side. Chocolate, vanilla, cookie dough. What more do you want? Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. That's pretty damn solid for a lower ABV stout. And some of you might be like, oh, what does that matter? I have always found lower ABV pastry stouts or stouts trying to do something like this, if they're under like 7.5%, 8%, let's say double range, a lot of times the body and the mouthfeel don't really work with something that I want to be a little bit more rich and sweet. I feel like a lot of times they're a bit too thin, not as creamy and whatnot. And on top of that, I just feel like the characters aren't, dare I say, bombastic enough. Shout out to a good friend of mine, a fellow beer tuber, Paul over at PA Brew News. Yeah, I like the bigger ABV pastry stouts and porters and whatnot. But I think this is like straight up medium body, 5.2%. It's nice. It's not thin. especially for the ABV. The mouthfeel, it has from the lactose a nice, soft, smooth kind of quality to it. There's a decent carbonation. I'd say this is under moderate carbonation, but I think it works. The taste, though, the nose carried over. Maybe not as punching me in the face with that, you know, like raw cookie dough, chocolate chip cookie dough batter. But there is an essence of a chocolate chip cookie on the palate. So front of the palate, I'm hit with a lot of chocolate. There's sweeter milk chocolate. There's like a 50-60% cacao bar, dark bittering chocolate, all mixing in. As it passes through, that's where the cookie dough hits. And again, it's more of a raw cookie dough. And the chocolate's intertwining, which would give you, again, chocolate chip cookie dough. Then after that, I get a little bit of vanilla. There's an underlying like roasted malt quality. It's not that big. It's just, you know, noticeable, but not you know, it's like underlying. It's omnipresent, but never stepping in the way. Also, midway through the palate, I get a little bit of like a dark fruit pop. Maybe like a cherry or a plum. And then on the back of the palate, this finish is semi-dry with a very mild bitterness. This is a little bit of a sweeter beer. You kind of expect it based on the name, right? But I will say the one thing, and this is to contradict myself from earlier about the body and the mouthfeel and the intensity of the flavors, I think if this was 8 to 9 to 10% like an imperial pastry stout, this would probably be too sweet. Probably be a beer that I'd only want like 4 to 6 ounces of. I'm gonna be able to drink the rest of that can, and it's not gonna get too cloying because I've taken, what, 4 or 5 sips now. It's, you know, sweet on the palate, but let's say it has like a 70 to 30% sweetness to like bitterness / dryness kind of balance. So it's, you know, not balanced per se, but it's also not cloying. 5.2%, you really can't taste it. This is good. Is it amazing? No, not really. But do I enjoy it? Yeah. I think they're giving you the cookie kind of, well, I'm looking for a chocolate chip cookie, whether that's saving it, little lively, although on the palate, not that carbonated, a little lively. Jesus. But I like that they're giving you the chocolate chip cookie kind of feel to this one, whether it's raw chocolate chip cookie dough, whether you get a cookie feeling out of it or not, it's there. It's there to some degree, and I appreciate that one. So, yeah, let's just go rating. So, DiBella's chocolate chip cookie stout from Three Heads. I have absolutely no issues giving this one a, we'll go low 4 out of 5. We'll go 3.9 out of 5. I think that's where this one lands. Solid, good, and I have no problems with this one whatsoever. Now, price point availability, I think this is just in West New York. I don't think Three Heads really gets outside of West New York. Maybe in other spots in New York State, like maybe into Syracuse and Albany and whatnot, but I don't think they get, you know, too much distribution. And as far as price point, I don't know. I got this in a mixed 6-pack at the aforementioned Wegmans grocery store. Their mixed 6-packs are now $12.99. They went up a couple dollars like everything else at this point. But even so, I paid, what, just over $2 for that can. I would hope that 4-packs of this aren't much more than like $16 a 4-pack. Hopefully more in like the $13, $14 range. They're using chocolate chip cookies, natural flavors, lactose, the whole 9. I don't want to see this more than $4 a can, and preferably around like $3 to $3.50, right? So if anybody out there knows what they paid for it, if you've had this one and you post in the comment section, I would totally appreciate it. So I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. And yeah, I have nothing else to say other than I'm going to shut it down, and we are going to try to figure out what I'm going to review next week for West New York Wednesday. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by. Till the next one. Cheers.